I'm John Twist of University Motors. I want to start a new series here about Electrix, MG Electrix. I was in Chicago this past weekend at the Chicago swap meet, and I heard several people tell me, oh, you've done so many YouTube videos, why don't you do one about Electrix? Because Electrix continues to be a mystery and difficult for some people. So let me see what I can do to try to make Electrix pretty easy. I want to talk about the battery today. The battery is the basic part of the electrical system. The battery serves three functions. One, it provides enough electricity to run the starter motor when you're pulling the starter on a T-type or cranking the key on a later model. It'll deliver several hundred amps and spin that engine up fast enough so the car can start. So that's the first function. The second function is to provide electricity when the car isn't able to make enough to continue running. Say, for instance, you're at a stoplight, your headlights are on, your turn signal's on, your heater motor's on, your wipers are going, your brake lights are on, you've got the radio cranked, right? And Mr. Generator, Mr. Alternator simply cannot put out at 800 or 900 engine RPM, can't put out enough electricity to supply enough energy to run all this stuff. So the energy to run all this stuff has to come from the battery. Then later on, the alternator, the generator, will charge the battery back up and refill it. Thirdly, we have a stabilizing force. Call it a ballast, call it a continuous pressure on this system so that the little vagaries that you might get from turning something on, turning something off, the alternator kicking in or the generator kicking in or out, doesn't cause massive changes in the voltage in the system. So we use it as a starting device to supply enough electricity for starting the starter motor. We use it when the energy the energy draw is greater than what the alternator can put out right at that time. And we use it as a stabilizing force, okay? It's pretty simple. Those are the three functions. Now, what is a battery? I have several examples here. Come on in. Here's a 12-volt battery. Here's a 6-volt battery. I've taken these apart so you can see the inside. Now, a storage battery isn't a whole lot different than the last great improvement done by Thomas Edison. We've got two plates of lead. One's lead sulfate. And as the energy is taken into the battery, the water in the battery, the electrolyte, is changed into hydrochloric acid. When we start to run a current across the battery, then that hydrochloric acid is changed into water, and until the energy in the acid is dissipated. So we've got these plates. We've got these individual plates, if you can see them here, and here's one that doesn't look like it's very much of a plate anymore. Over a period of time, these plates will sulfate up and they're no longer able to hold as much energy as they once did. Anyway, this is part of the 6-volt battery here that I've taken apart. These had these external connectors on them. Oh my gosh, tar top batteries they were called. And you could actually heat them up. You could heat up the individual cell at the top, heat up the tar, and lift the cell right out of the battery and repair it. Well, the major improvement in storage batteries in the past 50 years has been a plastic case, a thin plastic case. So we can look down inside here and you'll see that we have our individual cells down inside here. One cell has been removed for demonstration purposes. And all the connections are made internally, so there's not a chance of something touching the top and shorting out. So the positive post is always the larger diameter post. The negative post is the smaller diameter post. Each one of these batteries, each one of these cells is filled with sulfuric acid. That's what makes it work. And sulfuric acid is wonderfully, terribly corrosive. So if you get it on your hands, you get it on your face, you get it on your clothing, it has no conscience. It will burn right through. So that's sort of the construction of the battery. Now the battery is designed to hold a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of work. And a 12-volt battery like this, a group 24, that would fit into a late model MGB, holds about 80 amp hours of electricity. That means it can deliver 1 amp for 80 hours, or it can deliver 80 amps for 1 hour. And the batteries are designed, they're marine batteries or automotive batteries, there's deep cycle batteries. They're all designed a little differently mechanically on the inside to give you either greater amperage for a shorter amount of time or a little tiny bit of amperage for a lot longer. But the point is, you got 80 amp hours of electricity. That means that when you put a charger onto a dead battery, you've got to charge it. If you're charging it 2 amps, you have to charge it for 40 hours, because 2 times 40 is 80 amp hours. If you're charging it 4 amps, then you got to charge it for 20 hours, because 4 amps times 20 hours is 80 amp hours. Now you can charge it at 100 amps, okay? Charge it at 100 amps for 3/4 of an hour. Then what happens? Then it boils. It boils, and these plates in the battery get ruined. Okay, they start to come apart. Black stuff starts to froth up at the top. Plus, whenever you're charging the battery, you get hydrogen gas. That's just part of the deal. You get hydrogen gas that comes out, and if you get a spark with that hydrogen gas, it'll blow the top of the battery apart, just like this. I cut this one apart, but I had a battery blow up on me once, and it was stunning. I mean, all of a sudden you're disoriented because of the force of the explosion, and then I realized that I was wet with sulfuric acid. So I instantly went in and washed myself off, and yeah, I got some holes in my clothing. The next day my hat fell apart because I didn't wash my hat. But people are killed, every year people are killed by exploding batteries. So it is a bomb. You've got to be terribly cautious of it. And use your safety rules around the battery, and one of them is no open flames, no sparks, especially when you're charging it, because it will light up. So we got 80 amp hours of electricity in the battery, and we can check to see if the battery is fully charged by using a battery hydrometer and putting it down inside the electrolyte and coming up and seeing what kind of gravity we have. We'd normally expect gravity of like 1250, which means that the fluid is 1.250 times as heavy as water. It's a way of rating how acidic the electrolyte is. And on some batteries, even though they're fully charged, they still will deliver very little current, which means that the battery is too old and can no longer be repaired. Let's take a look at these batteries here. I have 2 examples of some sort of older, crummier batteries. I have not done due diligence and checked these first to see what the gravity might be, but let's just, I don't know if we can come in close with the camera and see our pointer here. Our pointer is sitting at 1200. Let's see what the next one is. If you are checking a battery and you're going from cell to cell to cell, there should be no more than 40 points. This electrolyte is so dirty, I can't get a fix. I can't get a fix on the arrow. I've lost the arrow. I think I'm up here at about 1250. The electrolyte is very, very dirty here, which means that it was charged at way too fast of a rate. This one's sitting about 1225, 1250. So this thing is all but fully charged. Okay, Let's check this other battery up here and just see what this guy is. Now there are what are called maintenance-free batteries. There's no such thing as a maintenance-free battery. Oh, this stuff, this is red hot sauce, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's no such thing as a maintenance-free battery. A maintenance-free battery is a game that the battery manufacturers are playing with you. All batteries need maintenance, and if they're maintenance free, it means they're going to last a lot less time than a real one. This one's up, can't see it very well, but this is up about 1250. Sometimes you come along and there's an absolutely dead cell. That's about 1250. If you get a dead cell, the battery obviously is bad. And here we've got one which is way off. Those other ones are 1250, this one's down to 1175. So we know that there's a problem with this battery. So the point of doing this is to see if the batteries are fully charged. Yes, they are. We've got 1200 and some, 1250, our gravity is about 1250 on this battery and about 1250, 1275 on this one. Now let's put a load on the battery. Here we've got a meter, and this approximates the starter motor. This draws a lot of electricity. You could cook hot dogs on this. So we're going to start this thing up here. We're going to check, and right away we see that it isn't even 12 volts. It's only 8 volts. So we don't have to go any further. We know that this battery is bad, but when we put a load on it, oh, we're down to 1 volt, okay? So even though this is fully charged, it can no longer accept work. It can no longer accept energy. So the battery's toast, to use a common breakfast term. This battery, we're up at just over 12 volts, and we'll put our load on it. Here we go, we're above 10 volts. Now, there's a meter here that says weak and bad, and if you go to some battery stores, the part that says bad is a lot longer. Their goal, after all, is to sell batteries. The battery is the most oversold part of the car. I swear it is. Anyway, we're up above 12 volts, and we should be because each cell is 2.2 volts, which means 13.2 when it's resting. So we put a load on it, and we'll count 20 seconds and see if we fall below 10 volts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're falling below 10 volts here. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is fallen. Obviously it says weak in this area, but the point is that while this one is absolutely scrap, this one is better, but it's not really good. Let's just for fun go over to a brand new battery here, which let me move him over into the same area. A new Interstate battery. It's a group 45 that would go in a midget, and we'll just we'll try him out here and see what he does. This is we assume it's off the shelf. Looks like a fully charged battery. We've got our full 12.5 volts here or so, and 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting faster than last time, but I really don't have to because this guy is hanging in there, and he's well above 10.5 volts. And I'm still talking here. We must be up to 12 seconds. I don't know if Dayton's camera is good enough, but you can see the inside of this guy turning red hot. I could cook some hamburgers in here. This is drawing a lot of current here. And in any case, we're still, if we look back down on our voltmeter, we'll see that we're still well above 10 volts. So this guy is just great. And he is the battery that you'd want to have run your car. Keeping the top of the battery clean is really, really important. Let's just put a vice grip on here, and We're going to hook our negative lead from another voltmeter here, an old is this Matco? No, Mac. Old Mac piece of test equipment here. We'll hook our negative lead to here, and if we hook our positive lead over here, we can see that we've got just shy of 8 volts. But if we put our lead here, look here on the battery, and then look here on the meter, we aren't even touching the post, and we're getting readings here of voltage. Now there's not much current flowing through the hot sauce. Why would you have hot sauce on a battery? I only put it on there to show you that dirt and water makes a conductor. We had an MGB here just the other day that the battery would go dead in 3 days. Like, what's going on? Modern radio, perfect reason for it to go bad. Didn't have a modern radio. It had nothing. It was just a 65B. It turned out it was the strap that held the battery tight in the battery holder. That had so much corrosion on it that it was leaking. The electricity was leaking from post to post. Very, very slowly, but over the course of 3 days, the battery would go flat. So keeping the top of the battery clean is like really, really important. Wash off the top of the battery with soda and water, baking soda, Arm & Hammer, baking soda and water. Don't let it go down inside. Just put some up, keep the post clean, and the battery maintenance good battery maintenance will get rid of half of your electrical problems in the car. Keep the alternators from failing, and it'll allow you to start up every time. So in the early days, they had these helmet clamps. Oh, these things are cool. This one's marked negative because it fits the cone of the negative post. It had a screw down through the top. If you're Mr. Original, you gotta have helmet clamps. I finally got rid of mine, but that was at the same time I lost my membership in the Positive Earth Society. Then we have brass clamps, which can be expanded and fit on the post too. We've got lead clamps. Here's one that's broken. A lot of good that's going to do. You're going to get an erratic connection there. Here's a more modern one. You know, again, broken usually from corrosion. They corrode, and finally someone cranks them down a little tighter, and then they snap. So keep your battery post clean, keep the connectors clean, keep the top of the battery clean. If you have to refill the electrolyte on the inside, use only distilled water. I have a small amount of distilled water here to show you, but it's deionized water. It hasn't got any minerals in it. Used to be distilled water. Now it's often sold as deionized water. But the point is, it hasn't got any iron in it. Keep the batteries full, and always keep the battery in a good state of charge. You can get modern battery chargers now that will check the voltage in the battery every couple of seconds, I don't know, and then if it needs a little electricity, it'll give it a little burst. These are the maintenance chargers, not a full-time charger, it's just a maintenance charger. So that's the battery. So like the Army, you know, I came here to tell you, and I've told you, now I'm going to tell you what I told you. There are 3 reasons you got the battery: to run the starter motor, to run the car when the alternator can't keep up, and to stabilize the voltage. The electricity that you're able to store in the battery is about 80 amp hours, whether it's a single 12 or twin 6s. But as the batteries degrade, their ability to keep 80 amp hours, even though they're fully charged, is reduced, and finally it gets to the point where it doesn't work at all. So at that point, you buy a new battery. Batteries are available. Group 45s for midgets, Group 24s, the big ones for the late model MGBs, and a Group 26, which takes the place of one of the twin 6s. Group 26 takes the place of one of the twin 6s, and get rid of the other twin 6 and run your car just on that voltage. So our next installment, our next exciting bit of battery and electrical knowledge will come with the operation of the generator, which is designed to recharge the battery after you've used up some of the electricity. Until then, safety fast.